Welcome, sir. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and Senators. I'm pleased to present AB 470, a bill to strengthen the California law pertaining to pool safety and barriers. This bill does three things. First, require a residential pool to have 2 barriers instead of 1 as is in the current law, increasing the barrier to 2. And secondly, require new pools and pools being retrofitted to comply with the Pool Safety Act and makes compliance with the Act an item included in the home inspection report at the time of a home sale. And thirdly, allow the pool door alarm to be an audible statement warning instead of just a shrill alarm sound. Unintentional injuries are the leading cause of death and hospitalizations for young children, and drowning continue to be the leading cause of death for 1 to 4 years old. For every drowning victims, it is estimated that there are as many as 5 other non-fatal submersion injuries, which often lead to brain damage and long-term disabilities. AB 470 expands the current Pool Safety Act to require 2 instead of 1 barriers to prevent young children from accessing a pool without supervision. Those barriers could include very low-cost pool alarms or pool covers and temporary or removable fence. I want to thank the sponsor and the pool industry, as well as the realtors, to work closely with my office to remove any opposition. And I ask for your support and to testify with me. We have Steve Barrow, a co-chair of California Unintentional Injury Prevention Strategy Plan Project, and John Norwood, representing the California Pool and Spa Association, and Kathy Barakian from the California Coalition of Children's Safety and Health and California Drowning Prevention Foundation.
Okay, thank you. Some members, speakers.
Hi, my name is Steve Barrow. I'm the co-chair of the California Unintentional Injury Strategic Plan Project. It's a project that was created several years ago in response to the continuing problem we have in California of unintentional injury being the #1 cause of death and hospitalization of our children and youth ages 0 to 19. It's been a consistent problem for more than 2 decades. From 2003 to 2013, over 10,000 children, California children and youth, have died due to unintentional injuries. There's a lot of variety of types of injuries that are there. Drowning is one of the kinds of injuries. It's not the only one. But in the project, we asked the stakeholders, they came up with 110 recommendations. We asked them to narrow that down to 10 leading things the state could do in the next couple years that would make a big difference. And they identified 10 items. Drowning prevention is one of those. And one of the drowning issues is children getting access to pools without adult supervision. There's 3 things we try to get pool owners to really understand is that you need to have active supervision. Keep the kids getting to the pool, and when they're at the pool, you actively supervise them. Barriers, when the pool's supposed to be closed and the children are not supposed to be accessing the pool, we need barriers to keep the children from getting to the pools. And this is primarily a young 1 to 4-year-old issue. Older kids getting to pools is not a big problem in our state. And then the third thing is water safety. We want to teach all the families and kids about water safety. This bill addresses the barrier part of California's effort to keep 1 to 4-year-olds from getting to pools and drowning. It's a very expensive kind of unintentional injury. Obviously, the fatalities that we have, and there are dozens of them every year, unfortunately, is a big problem. But for every, as the author has said, Assemblymember Chu has said, for every 1 fatality, we get 4 or 5 children that have a near drowning experience, end up in the hospital, and a large percentage of those end up with brain injury and brain damage. and children that suffer the brain damage, it can be a $5 million hospital stay, and then an ongoing care is around $30,000 a month for children with brain damage. Anyway, we urge you, this is a really good step forward for California, getting the 2 barriers, getting it into the home inspection so that it's like smoke alarms being not in place or water heaters not being hooked to the wall, cause problems during earthquakes. Having the pool protected with 2 barriers is important.
Okay, we want to limit the speakers to 2 minutes each. Okay, thank you. And we have no opposition on this bill?
Mr. Chairman, members, John Norwood on behalf of the California Pool and Spa Association. Since there are 3 of us, I will be very brief. We're very pleased to be here with child safety advocates to support this bill, and we urge your aye vote. Appreciate the work of the Assemblyman and his staff in bringing us all together in support. Thank you very much.
Likewise, Mr. Chairman, members, Kathy Barankin with the California Coalition for Children's Safety and Health. We're in strong support.
Thank you. Over here.
Greg Lugier with the Oregon United Cerebral Palsy. In addition to being a developmental disability service provider group and civil rights group, we're a disability prevention group, and we certainly support this bill.
Okay, other speakers opposed? Anybody speaking opposed? And questions from the committee? Just a statement, when Assemblymember, you represent the former Agnes Hospital, and when I was an Assemblymember, we were involved in the closure of the hospital, and they have a intensive care facility at that hospital. And so those were the 150 patients that were most severely disabled patients in the Agnes facility and probably in the state. And when I went there, there was 2 teenagers that were in the facility, and they were, you know, in a subacute condition, trach tubes, the whole 9 yards. And I asked the director, I said, those 2 kids look like they're similar. He says, oh yes, they're twins. And I said, well, what happened to the twins? They said, well, when they were young infants, they both fell into a pool, and this is what happened to the little babies. So I checked this week, and right now we have 717 people in Department of Developmental Disabilities that are in there because of pool injuries. 700. It's an astounding number. And you can say that's millions, tens of millions of dollars it's costing the state. So anything we can do to help on this, it has a much more profound impact than you might realize, this legislation. So thank you for introducing it. And of course, I would certainly recommend it when we get a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's see, we have, I think we're, no quorum yet. So we're down to the minority leader in the Assembly. Mr. Chad Mays, Assembly Member, Minority Leader, he has a bill, item 11 on our agenda, please, and that's 1799, Assembly Member. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. AB 1799 is aimed at saving homeowner associations money by reducing an unnecessary expense, which ultimately benefits property owners. Today's law requires an HOA board election be held even if the election is uncontested. For instance, when there are 2 candidates for 2 seats, or 3 candidates for 3 seats, or for that matter, 2 candidates for 3 seats. Elections which involve mailing packets to every property owner that can cost thousands of dollars. AB 1799 allows HOA boards to avoid this needless cost by authorizing them to cancel elections that will be uncontested. We added numerous amendments to address stakeholder concerns. For instance, the bill provides a formal process with an open meeting requirement. It requires that notice be provided to members. It allows a second chance to decide to run, even after the election has been declared uncontested, and strengthens the election rule requirements and allows homeowners to sue if the rules weren't followed. This bill is not about encouraging uncontested elections. In fact, the bill may result in fewer uncontested elections because of the new notice requirements. This bill merely prevents wasted resources when elections are uncontested. AB 1799 is an appropriate balance between cost reduction and homeowner protections. I respectfully request an aye vote.
Thank you. Witnesses in favor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, members. The benefits of this bill are tangible and
Why don't you introduce yourself, so?
I'm sorry, skipped on with the Community Associations
People
Institute.
are going fast here.
Yeah, sorry. Try to keep it within 2 minutes.
Good. That's good.
All right. There's three benefits to this measure. Two are tangible, one is intangible, if you will. The tangibility aspect is the cost reduction that the authors cited. We have done research and know that the data on elections range at least $1 a piece, and in large associations, figure $1 a piece per unit. The second tangible benefit is that there are additional notifications sent out to members. And why is that important? I'll tell you why, because that leads into the intangible benefit. There is a lot of apathy in homeowners associations. This measure, with the additional notifications, lets people recognize and think about again, one more time, whether they should run for office and be a policy setter for the board and for their neighbors. So this bill will go a long way in reducing the apathy in community associations. To be more specific, the current law, this is kind of crazy. The current law requires ballots to be sent out when there are no candidates. So a ballot can go out and say, vote for whomever you wish to serve on the board, and there's no name. That's the current law. This bill would attempt to reduce that situation. Secondly, the money that's spent on these elections should really be spent on community property, maintenance, et cetera, and that'd be a benefit to that. Some have asserted that the proposed schedule in this bill is complicated. It is not. Look at the analysis on pages 3 and 4. It very clearly lays out when notifications go out and what happens as a result of those. Under the current law, 60 days, at least 60 days, notification must be sent to the members. Well, this bill would say, in addition, no later than 20 days prior to the board meeting where the names of candidates will be disclosed if there are any. And that, if there are fewer candidates than there are open board seats, this then might inspire folks attending that board meeting to sign up and self-nominate or be nominated at that meeting. If that's the case, and some candidates do appear and are willing to serve their communities, then an additional 15 days is provided for candidates to self-nominate or become write-ins. So the cost-saving procedure and repeated candidate encouragements will reduce apathy and make the operation of the HOA more efficient. And we ask that you vote yes, and hopefully you can go home and tell your HOAs in your district that you helped them out.
Speakers, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Catherine Henriksen on behalf of the California Association of Community Managers. I work with homeowners associations every single day. I actually am a consumer in a homeowners association as well. So I certainly support the bill as proposed. I echo Mr. Skipdom's urgence for an aye vote on the measure. I would tell you that in 900 associations that our company manages, the extrapolation of member benefits to all of those constituents that live in those communities would be a great thing to achieve. The ability of homeowners to already understand that there's apathy in their community and to have a second opportunity to actually step up to serve their organization would be an additional benefit to any cost savings that might occur if that were not to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Other speakers in favor? Speakers opposing, please. Come forward, please. Have speakers opposing. Who are the two main speakers? Come up here, please. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, have a seat. Yeah, please, two speakers, 2 minutes each. Thank you. Who's going to be the speakers? You are, okay. Okay, welcome. Thank you. You have the floor.
Good afternoon. I'm Marjorie Murray from the Center for California Homeowner Association Law, and I'll start by saying I myself live in a homeowner association, one of the oldest in California, formed in 1917. We are opposed to the bill for the simple reason that voting rights are conferred by ownership. That is, when you buy a home, it carries with it a vote. That vote is established by California administrative law. It's an unqualified right. What this bill does is to limit the situations, opportunities under which homeowners can exercise that right. Our primary testimony will be presented by two members of our legislative committee, Tom Sir, retired from the Alameda County Courts, and Bill Boos, they will be presenting the center's position. Bill Boos has litigated voting rights issues in the California trial courts and appellate courts. And also Paula Lee from the League of Women Voters will be describing her experiences monitoring association elections.
We have two speakers, 2 minutes each, please. Go ahead. Next speaker.
All right, Tom.
Under existing law, there are a number of protections for homeowners to exercise their right to vote. But despite these protections that have been in place for 10 years, there are abuses of power by incumbent board members and continue. And the way they work is incumbents assume authority under their existing power to set qualifications for candidates and for voting. And they have used, in many instances, this power to disqualify would-be challengers. A case in point is the case of Griffin versus Village Palos Verdes HOA, in which the incumbent board passed a new rule that anyone who was suing the HOA or had sued the HOA in the prior 6 years was ineligible to run for the board. And this new rule knocked out the one dissenting candidate who was trying to run for office. By expanding the incumbent's power now to also cancel an election, these abuses are even easier to accomplish because incumbents can then avoid the public attention and scrutiny that only an election can expose. What made the remedy in Griffin possible is that there was a looming election, and Mr. Griffin could run into court and get an injunction to stop the election. Under the proposal in this bill, the board could have canceled the election and kept it completely under the radar. I take issue with the supporters' statement that their notices are sent out about the cancellation of the bill does not require sending notices. You can do the notice of a proposed cancellation of election by simply posting a notice on a bulletin board somewhere in the development. That is not sending out notices. And finally, we agree with the objections of ECHO that the procedures that are proposed for cancellation of an election are not only complicated, but we would add contradictory and confusing. This is a poorly drafted part of the bill. And for that reason, we urge your no vote on this bill.
Thank you. Other speakers in favor, state your name, organization.
In opposition.
I had one more statement, if that's acceptable. My name is Bill Boos. I have been a business trial lawyer for the past 20 years in Orange County. I represented plaintiffs in a recent case called Wittenberg versus Beachwalk, which gave rise to an important appellate decision confirming a member's free speech rights during elections. In that case, the board actually stripped my clients of any right to use association media in connection with an election, even though it had been using the same association media. The court ultimately invalidated that election. The bill here has one major flaw in it. It's at Section 2. And it's peripherally related, by the way, to the overall purpose of the avoidance of uncontested elections. Section 2 of the bill would actually empower boards to enact rules to deny the right to vote to certain members. This is under 5105A9. This would invite HOA boards, which are quasi-governmental entities, to adopt arbitrary, non-precise rules restricting a homeowner's fundamental right to vote without any meaningful opportunity to be heard beforehand. This is usually done to disenfranchise dissenting or opposing factions. In fact, I've been involved in cases where that, in fact, has happened. This bill would be basically an imprimatur or a blessing to such unconstitutional conduct. And as the Wittenberg court said, which I think is very important here, it would further empower those individuals already in power and would facilitate rather than cure the evils intended to be remedied by the statute. Under the bill, there is no end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a quorum. We will call the roll, please.
Senator Isbell?
Here.
Bell present. Cannella? Here. Cannella present. Allen? Bates? Bates present. Gaines? Galgiani? Leyva? Leyva present. McGuire? Mendoza? Roth? Roth present. Wachowski? Wachowski present.
Okay, thank you. We had to do that so we can vote on the bill. Okay. Next, just please, name, organization, and position. Thank you.
Paula Lee. I'm currently serving as the president of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County, but I'm not here representing the League because the League of Women Voters doesn't have a position on homeowners elections. But we are asked, and I was asked, to serve as the inspector of elections for a local homeowners association here in Sacramento. And I can tell you these folks are anything but apathetic. This was a recall election, and they told me horror stories that at first I didn't believe about how they were bullied and intimidated by the board. But after going through this experience, and experiencing the bullying and intimidation ourselves as League members, I can tell you that is exactly what happened. I was not given an accurate list of property owners or eligible voters in this homeowners association, and when I attempted to find out if one of the ballots was an eligible voter, the management company told me they couldn't talk to me. They were told by the board not to talk to me, and the lady seemed very afraid. I said, "Why are you so afraid?" She said, "Well, they haven't signed our contract yet."
Bill.
So she finally told me that the voter was eligible. So I had to do a recount, and I was told, and when I let them know I was coming back to do the recount to see who was elected, we were told, the League was told that the board had voted and we were not allowed to come on the property.
Let's please wrap up. We've already had the 2 minutes for each person, so please wrap up.
Sure. I just wanted to recommend that to you that based on my experience, there's a lot, I have learned that there's a lot of money in play here, a lot of contracts for maintenance at stake and management companies, and so control over who serves on the board is very important to someone. Based on my experience, I urge your committee to oppose the legislation that's dressed up to be cost savings, because it's really not cost savings.
I'm going to ask you to stop. We gave the proponents 2 minutes each, and we've given you more time. So that's it. So please say your name, your organization, and your opposition.
Thank you. Eric Schiffer. I'm an attorney from the Lex Opus Law Firm in Orange County, California. I, along with my colleague, was appellate counsel in the Wittenberg case, and we opposed the bill, as my colleague stated.
Okay, thank you. Others in opposition, please state your name and your organization, if you have one, in your opposition.
My name is Ann Stanaway. I'm an HOA member from Clayton in Contra Costa County, and I beg for your no vote on this terrible bill.
All right, thank you. Next, please.
My name is Marilyn Hughes. I live in livable, lovable Lodi, California, and an association board that's not lovable. Please do not vote yes on this board.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Margaret Sweeney from Alameda County in Castro Valley, and I urge you to vote no on AB 17999. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Sewell from the California Commission on Aging. We have great concerns about the impacts on the older adults living in HOAs if this bill passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
C.T. Weber, representing CARA, the California Alliance for Retired Americans, over 1 million members now, and we're strongly opposed, as stated in our letter that we sent in. We really fear the loss of voting rights.
Sir. That's sufficient. Thank you.
My name is Betty Melton. I live in Sun City, Roseville, and I want you to know that I strongly oppose this bill. I think there's more to it than just this little bit that we're hearing here.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Fitzgerald from Stanislaus County, homeowner, and I strongly urge you to vote no. We should be allowed to vote on our own homes.
Thank you very much. Others in opposition? All right, seeing none. Questions? I just have a question of the opposition. It seems like, and look, I've had my issues with homeowners associations, certainly. But it seems like all this bill is doing is saying if nobody is running, or if only 2 are running for 2 seats, then there won't be an election. That's the way it is in cities as well. There are a lot of cities where if there's no, it's an uncontested election, then there's no election, basically. So what else do you see? Just keep it brief. What else are you seeing besides, all the issues you've had with homeowners associations?
The difference between HOA elections and municipal elections are 3. Number 1, the city council does not have the authority to disqualify anyone from voting or running for the city council.
Yep.
Secondly, we don't have the same pattern and history of abuses, at least wide abuses, in municipal elections as we do in HOAs. There's a well-established pattern that HOA boards run rampant over the rights of HOA owners.
Yeah.
And the third reason we would offer,
Good
Mr.
teamwork there.
Yeah, I forgot.
I'm about to give a fourth.
Well, is that city councils don't set qualifications. So this is the power that 1799 would give boards to establish behavioral standards. But city councils don't do that. They don't say, well, you can vote, or you can run for a city council seat, Mr. Cannella, but Senator Leyva cannot.
Oh, and sorry, the third point was, in the elections code, I remembered it now, in the elections code, there are very clear and specific procedures for a candidate for city council to become a candidate. There are deadlines, and it's very, very clear. In Davis Sterling, the nomination process is undefined. The only thing in there, talking about nominations, requires that a HOA must allow anyone to self-nominate, and that's all it says.
Very briefly, and also if the purpose of the legislation is to avoid uncontested elections, there's no reason why subsection A9 is there. That has no bearing on whether or not you can declare an election uncontested.
Okay, and then my last point is, let's say the HOA disqualifies folks that should be able to run. There is a remedy. They can just be a write-in candidate, right? So I can't imagine if I were, if I wanted to be on the board of the HOA where I have property, and they said, sorry, you're disqualified, I would say, well, I don't think so. I think I'll become a write-in candidate because there is the provision in there for that, right?
But this is the difficulty, Senator, in that if the board has already canceled the election, they're not going to be sending out ballots, and so
It's required.
where is the write-in candidate to put his name?
It's required as part of the bill. If they give a notification, and if there's a write-in candidate, and in an HOA, a write-in candidate is allowed, then they have to go and have an election. So anyway, any other questions? Senator Robb.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. As I promised some of you, I went back and took another look at this. I didn't really see what the beef was, frankly, with the uncontested election piece. I read through it. And I'm listening to the issues having to do with homeowners associations and people not getting to vote and associations determining who can vote and what the process is. But I'm looking at this bill and the amendment, which, as I understand it, on that subject, states that the association is supposed to ensure that a member who satisfies the lawful qualifications shall not be denied the right to vote. The law sets out says the association shall adopt rules that do all the following. We don't have in this, I don't have section 4340 of chapter 3, but I assume the law is pretty clear as to how an association sets procedures for voting and determines who's qualified to vote. Is it an owner or a tenant or is the dog? And therefore, you seem to be complaining about something that's not in this bill. Maybe that needs a fix, but it's not this bill, is it?
Well, the examples that we have brought to you are where the homeowner board, the incumbent board, has used that ability to set qualifications to single out specific people and disqualify them.
So that's a
So the concern is this, that you would have a situation where, let's say there's 3 incumbents running for 3 seats, their terms are up, and then a 4th dissident wants to file. So the board then passes a rule disqualifying that 4th person and then cancels the election.
But you're...
And then, it can be done by simply posting a notice somewhere so they can do it under the radar. That's the concern.
Well, it sounds to me like you want this author to carry a bill other than the bill he's carrying.
No, we want the committee to not pass this one because it will broaden the ability of an incumbent board.
I would like to address the specific question that you asked, Senator. I think it's an important one. And that is the phraseology of this section that you just read. It says that we're supposed to ensure that these people who are qualified by the association's governing documents are given a right to vote. But the opposite reading is also true, that if somebody is not qualified under the governing documents, which includes rules, would not be allowed to vote. And because the board has that power by that pregnant omission here.
But isn't that's either I would assume that's either implicit or expressly stated in the law, the other piece of the law that I don't have. I would assume that that's an inherent authority of an association and a board to determine that the people who vote are properly authorized to vote. If the association doesn't do it, who does it?
But the problem is that the association then restricts the right to vote for certain things. For example, not curbing your pet or leaving your furniture on the patio or things of that nature. And they say, well, because you're violating a rule, you don't get to vote. And that's exactly what these boards have been doing. And I've been involved in litigation where that has happened. And so what this subsection is, Senator, with respect to the one that you just read, this gives a blessing, a legislative blessing to those boards who are already doing this to continue doing it and also to enlarge the practice.
But aren't you, in essence, saying that what needs to happen is there needs to be a change to 5105A4 because the law apparently already says that an association shall specify the qualifications for voting, the voting power of each membership, the authenticity, validity, and effective proxies in the voting period for elections, et cetera, et cetera. So what you're advocating for is a change to something that this author in this bill isn't doing, right?
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then what's the purpose of 9, right? The purpose of 9, if we have that under 4, then why 9? And I'll explain to you why 9, Senator. It's to basically give these boards a legislative blessing. Continue doing what you're doing because if a member is not in good standing or is not in compliance with the association governing documents, you can deny the right to vote. And that's what this subsection is implying. Subsection 4 doesn't say that the board shall specify certain rules restricting the right to vote. It doesn't say that at all. It just says, hey, as long as you're qualified, 1 member per household, whatever, then you have the right to vote. But it doesn't set, 4 does not say anything about limiting the right to vote.
Senator Roth, can I interject here? So if you do not have the right to vote, can you run for the election to the board?
Well, those are 2 separate things, but,
I'm just asking, can they?
Typically that happens where the board says, because you're in violation of the rules, not only can you not vote, but you can't run for the board.
Okay, so then
And the other,
may I finish, ma'am? So if they can't run, if they can't vote and they can't run, then what's the concern? That seems like a bigger issue that needs to be fought, so. Senator Roth, are you finished?
The concern is once the homeowner takes this matter to, let's say, a judge, it takes a judge 2, 3, 4 years to decide. And even if the judge decides in favor of the homeowner, they've already missed out on 3 or 4 elections completely.
And they would anyway. Senator Leyva.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as a chair on select committee on mobile homes and manufactured homes, I have had the opportunity over the last year and a half to become much more familiar with homeowner associations. I think probably the biggest problem is the perception. And the perception is exactly what all of you have outlined. What homeowner residents have said to me is they feel that the system is rigged. They feel that they don't have a say. They feel that there are definitely, to quote you, sir, abuses by incumbent board members, and that they're intimidated to not be a part of the process. My concern is that this bill just furthers those perceptions and disenfranchises the people that are paying to be a part of the homeowners association. It seems like a simple bill. It seems, very easy to say that if no one is running, we shouldn't send out, or if there's only 6 people running the 6 slots, we shouldn't send out ballots and whatnot. I don't think it will encourage people to be not apathetic. And do we know, does the bill actually say that all money saved goes towards maintenance, or is that just something we're thinking could happen?
Theoretical.
Okay. I was actually asking the author, Assemblymember.
No, of course not.
Okay, so I think I think this is a slippery slope. I think it sounds great, and I think it sounds like it could be good, but just in my own experience in the last year and a half, I am very concerned also that this will lead to more abuses and more intimidation of the homeowners themselves. Thank you.
Senator Roth?
I didn't want to sound unsympathetic. I have had my own struggles with homeowners associations, but I've also been a member of a homeowners association that has difficulty attracting members to the board, and you frequently have elections where there are 3 slots and there are 3 candidates. And so going to the process of having ballots and having a meeting and having all that seems a little bit unnecessary. As to the excluding people from voting, ma'am, the issues that you raise, it seems to me that what we ought to be focused on is taking a look at 5105A4 and maybe one of these other ones that I've skipped over, and where it says specify the qualifications for voting, talk about what you may not use to exclude people from participating, and expand this statute a little bit more to deal with the specific issues that you have, to put restrictions on associations to deal with the problems that you've faced both in litigation and in practice. So,
Well, actually, we offered.
Miss, the question was not asked of you, so he was making a comment. Thank you. All right, any more, Senator Roth? No. All right, any other questions from the committee? All right, Senator Mays, would you like to close?
Sure. Thank you guys so much for spending quite a bit of time on this. I'm reminded of the saying that my mother used to say is no good deed goes unpunished. When this bill first came to me was some folks in my district. I represent the Coachella Valley, where there's quite a few homeowners associations, and I had some folks that came and said that one of the things that they were required to do under the law was when there was an uncontested election, they were still required to have an election. And I thought, that's a bit crazy, just like Senator Cannella had said, county boards of supervisors, in fact, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, if it's uncontested, they have the ability to cancel the election. For an election for 2.2 million people, they have the ability to cancel an election if nobody runs. For city council, they have the ability to cancel an election. For school boards, they have the ability to cancel the elections. I thought, for goodness sake, if we can do that for county boards of supervisors and city councils and school boards and water boards, then for sure we can do that with homeowners associations. So our initial bill was literally 2 sentences. But because of the respect for opposition, my staff and I had been working with the opposition, and now we have a 5 or 6 page bill to try to deal with a lot of these issues. Going through the process, quite frankly, the bill is better today than it was when we first started. I think we've worked through a lot of these issues, worked through a lot of these issues with several chairs on our side of the building. And I think what we've come up with today is a good bill. And so I'd respectfully request an aye vote.
Okay, what's the will of the committee? We have a motion by Senator Bates. We have the secretary call the roll.
AB 1799, the motion is do pass and refer to the Judiciary Committee. Senators Bell, Cannella. Aye. Cannella, aye. Allen. Bates. Aye. Bates, aye. Gaines. Gaines, aye. Galgiani. Leyva. No. Leyva, no. McGuire. Mendoza. Roth. Aye. Roth, aye. Wachowski.
It's 4-1. We'll leave that bill on call. Thank you. All right? Thank you. All right, next up is Senator Chow, AB 587.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. While we're loading up, someone like to make a motion on the consent calendar? We have a motion by Senator Gaines on the consent calendar. We have the secretary call the roll.